Hi, this is Pam with ROC Metaphysical. We're doing another YouTube video today. Just as a reminder, ROC Metaphysical is alloneword.com is the name of my online magazine. New articles come out the first of each month. You can search for it, Google it. It also has Facebook and Instagram. I have event information, classes, a directory listing if you're looking for a practitioner for some metaphysical or alternative health specialist. So there's lots there, lots to do. There's a lot of events coming up in the next few months. So make sure you take a peek at the online magazine. So to accompany the magazine, we're doing YouTube videos. And today I'm interviewing Tammy Billups, who's written a book that I loved, and it's about animals. So I would say probably 90% of people love animals. There's always a few. And the book, hopefully it'll show up, Animal Wayshowers. It talks about animals and their purpose to be with us humans on this planet at this time. And I guess I never realized, and you can talk about it, that there's a purpose for the animals, that they're here to teach us. We may be teaching them, which I thought was interesting too. So I guess I'm going to open it up to you to talk about why are the animals here to walk with us and teach us and help us.
They're driven at a soul level. They're trying to evolve as well. And quite frankly, the animals they stay more connected to all that is. They stay more in the present moment. They actually emulate these beautiful qualities that as humans, we have a hard time embracing. And so I believe what I have found over the years is that especially domesticated animals, which is all I talk about in the book. I dabble a little bit with dolphins and whales, but the domesticated animals are on the front lines of the animal kingdom's mission to raise the consciousness of humanity. I mean, if you look at everything they do for us, and we think, oh, they're companions, or oh, they always love me, and all those things, but they have a deep soul purpose, and they are driven. They have a mission, and they are really here to show up for us and to help us get out of our little 3D selves and try to raise our consciousness. And of course, that's going to be benefiting, unearthing a new time on our planet as well.
So as I learn and talk to people, us humans chose to be here at this time. We made a plan, if you want to believe that that's how we are operating, that we were in another dimension, or you want to say heaven, or I don't know how to describe it. Let's say we're in heaven and we made a plan to come here and have this lifetime here. So I'm also going to say then the animals also said, okay, we also have a plan and we're going to come here and be with humans and live amongst them. We could be feral, but there's still interaction with people, or we could be domesticated and have families and people that want to have us living in their home, or, if they're free animals where they can come and go, there's no limitation. So that is your belief that they made a plan to come down and be with us and spend time with us.
Oh, absolutely. And the animals that you share your heart and home with are absolutely, both of you knew going into it that you were going to come together, and that animal was somehow going to be the shining light that you needed to help you through either a difficult time or raise your awareness or help you heal. I mean, it's a multitude of reasons, but absolutely they know what's going on. And they're here for us, and it's so brave of them, because there are still plenty of people out there that are pretty unconscious regarding animals, and it's risky for them to say, yeah, I'll show up in front of that abusive person and let them abuse me in hopes that they may have a twinkle of compassion or empathy, and it might change their awareness. I mean, that's pretty brave, I think.
I know, I think about that people have taken in animals and either the animal was transformed. I have a friend now, her spouse is experiencing Alzheimer's, and they got a puppy, and their puppy is just like an actress, engaging and talking. I mean, the dog almost talks, and I think the dog is bringing just another level of fun and lightness into the home when things are a little, I wouldn't say sad, but you know that the person is not going to get better. So, and she posts pictures of the dog, and the dog is so cute and very sassy. So, you know, so now, I mean, I have to think that this is purposeful, that the dog is there to lift her up and to give her many. I hear her snickering when she does live little videos and posts it. And we all get a laugh out of it too.
Right.
She's
Bring
so
the
cute.
joy.
Right.
I mean, that's not an easy thing to bring, and especially in those situations, to be able to show up in that way. I mean, who else could do that? Could a person come in and do that the same way? Maybe, but an animal, I mean, they show up and immediately we feel safe and we feel loved, and that allows us to release the protection around our hearts in a new way that maybe we wouldn't with a person that comes in, you know. And so they really are light bringers and wayshowers.
So is there any like little story that you remember that is in the book or comes to mind where you can give us a little sample of what's in the book?
Sure. Oh gosh, there's so many examples. I'm going through a little Rolodex in my mind right now. I'm like, which one's going to pop out? Um, You know, I love the example of, and this is would be depicting what animals are doing for us, and one of the ways that they might be trying to kind of guide us on our way and on our path. I love the story of Anielle and Pepper, her dog Pepper. And Anielle, unfortunately, had come to the conclusion that she was going to get a divorce and move out of the house. And so she started arranging, she would arrange a time to go look at apartments. And she would get ready to go out the door to go look at the apartments. And she'd look over, and Pepper all of a sudden wasn't able to walk and would just kind of fall over, like, oh, you know, and she'd drop everything, of course. I mean, if your animals all of a sudden can't walk, you think, oh my gosh. And she'd rush Pepper to the vet. And then the vet would say, well, everything looks fine, and it might just be your breed, and it might be this and that. And then she'd get back home, Pepper's walking fine, running around, playing. And that happened several times before she finally went, wait a minute. The only time this happens is when I'm getting ready to leave to go look at apartments to move out. And that's when she had that light bulb moment and said, you know what? She might be trying to tell me something. And then she sat down with her husband and they worked things out. And they still say to this day, they're still together. Obviously, this is years ago, that Pepper saved their marriage. And she's never done that again since, of course. But I mean, you know, Pepper really had to get her mom's attention to say, this is worth fighting for. You're worth fighting for. I'm going to do this for you. That's just one of the many examples. That's just you said a little small short one, and that's a short one I can pull out of the hat because I've got lots of long ones. But it is just incredible to me to hear some of the stories of things that these animals will do for us.
I know you even have stories. There was a couple that I kind of remember about horses, that there was one horse that was very protective. And I guess there was a girl, and I think she had like a large amount of property, and there was an issue with some other animals. I don't know if they were cows.
Yeah, they were cows. Yeah.
Right.
there were some young cows that were getting out of hand, and this was a woman who, up to that point, no one had protected her in her life. She was on her own. She was sent to boarding school early. You're out there, we're sending you to another country. Good luck. This is the way it works. And a lot of suffering in her childhood, and no one ever looked at her and in that protective manner. And then she adopted. This is in Spain, and then she adopted Unicum. And there was one day, that she was out tending to some of the younger cows, and they were getting kind of unruly and everything. And then all of a sudden, she looks and Unicum jumped his fence, which is rare for a horse, and jumped and came over and got in between her and the young calves. And she didn't even know how to receive that. It was difficult for her to even know how to receive that. And he was a horse that people didn't understand, and she felt like they married each other. She always felt misunderstood, and she always felt like she had a harder edge on him, on her as well. And so did the horse. And so they had this wonderful understanding and love connection from the first time they met. It's really a cool story they have.
Right. I think that, we see those things that happen, when you go on the internet and there's a dog that knows about a fire and wakes people up, or a cat that does the same thing, has an awareness that something is wrong and licks the people's faces to make them wake up. And I guess we just don't pay attention to these things. And with so many stories that you have in there, it just made me rethink their purpose and their connection with us and how they interact. And I know you said that they're here to help us move. If people are knowing, we've been in 3D, and as we grow and develop our spirituality and we're more in touch, that we're elevating ourselves to 5D, that the animals have a place in this. And Absolutely. Is that because of their daily interaction, their soul purpose?
Yeah, well, with their soul mission, I think it's easier. I think there's a larger percentage of animals that are able to stay connected, stay present, stay conscious, and be who they really are, be authentic, be accepting, be loving, and not get into the duality of 3D. And because so many people have been abused by other people, they're harder to trust. And so in comes the animals with their great soul purpose of, I'll be the healer. I'll help her or him, through this time. And so that she or he can know that they're lovable, that they matter. How many times has that happened? But that's not a small feat. I mean, that's huge. I mean, they actually, can help children emotionally develop in ways that people never could, because they're there for them. They're showing them that unconditional love is not an easy thing for people to do. And so I just think we should give animals a lot more credit for how they show up. And yes, they are ushering in this 5D consciousness, which is 5D consciousness is that place of forgiveness, of acceptance, of grace, of peace, of love, of course, as of allowing everyone to communicate, maybe even telepathically. That's kind of more 5D, and just be and accept others and love others as they are. Animals show us the way to do that. And we're all, as a planet, trying to get to that place of less suffering, more love, which is living more in 5D, living more in that place of bliss. And we all have moments of that. Animals have a lot more moments of that. They really want to show us how to get there.
I like that answer.
Good.
They're showing it love and the acceptance and allowing. And you're right. I mean, a lot of people don't want to, they're judgy or have very narrow views of how things should be. So some people are left out of the picture, and that shouldn't be. So I like that answer. And it just while you were talking, and I'm thinking on my Facebook feed, it is the action of humans, but it's more about I think they're in New Zealand or Australia, and there's these two dogs, and they're kind of big, but they're friends with this bird. And the bird is like another dog. And I'm just amazed at how the two dogs actually roughhouse with the bird, but they never hurt the bird.
Yeah.
And the bird, I don't know what kind of bird it is, but it is like a parrot to some degree because it can mimic the sound of a dog. But the rest of the time it just warbles, it just sings. But the bird, has figured out how to sound like a barking dog. And so there's these pictures of the two dogs and the bird standing at the window waiting for the parents to come home. And it's just so cute. And the bird picks at him, and the dog kind of knocks him, just how kids would be.
Birds are so cool. They're so smart. And I love, you bring up a good point, because I believe that the higher vibration or frequency that we're able to hold, the more accepting we are, the more we will see more of that interspecies interaction, and those innate, go after them, kill or, feed ourselves or whatever, those tend to disappear more, because in 5D, we know that our needs are met. We know that we will always have everything we need. And so I love to see those types of situations where there's the cat and dog that are, hanging out, sleeping together, and it's cool.
Right. Just like how we all should be. So I guess I should have asked the question, what got you to write the book or focus on this topic of animals as our companions and our spiritual leaders, I guess?
Well, thank you for asking that. The first two books I wrote were so meatier with the soul contracts and the emotional wounds of animals, and how to identify them, how to heal them. And then after those two, I went, I'm not ever writing. Every time I finish a book, I say, I'm never writing another book again, because it is a lot of work. And then all of a sudden, I think it was, I just started having these revelations around when I would hear the stories through my clients, and I would meet some of these animals, and some of them are holding, just like people. It doesn't mean they're better. It just means they've got more miles on them. The more we go, the more we're able to hold a higher vibration as we go along. And some of these animals were really working overtime and just extraordinary. And there were common threads and themes about them being a bit more detached and holding this, what I call transformational healing presence. And all of a sudden I just went, I felt it, actually, if it's not too woo-woo sounding, I really felt as if the animals, that this is their book. They wrote it through me. And I was just feeling, they started just coming around me. I started having dreams about them. And I felt like I'm just doing what they want me to do in this book, to help humanity see what they're doing and their mission and purpose from a higher level. And then it just started. I just started writing, like, okay, and then the title came through, and then when I sent it, and this didn't happen as quickly in the other two. Books. I sent the title and the idea up to Inner Traditions in an hour. Things are coming together as they should, and to me, it's to honor the animals, because they've done a lot for me.
So
they have been there for me.
Have you always worked with animals as a way of healing and a focus of spirituality?
Oh gosh, no. It was probably 23 years ago, I think, when I went through my big awakening. I call it a rude awakening at the time, because it was through 4 deaths, like a lot of people. You go through one of those years, and then all of a sudden I was able to see energy, which wasn't a welcome thing for me at the time. I didn't know anybody who could see energy or hear energy or feel energy, and it's like, who's that in my room? But when I sought help, there was someone that I went to, because it was obviously a bad year. I had all kinds of childhood trauma memories that like amnesia. Somebody turned on the light. They all came back to the surface, had a lot of dark nights. And I was seeking help. And there was somebody who did this type of work on people. And I said, I'm willing to try anything. And I set up from her table and I said, I don't know what just happened, but I know I want to do what you do. I'd never said that before. I was 40. And then I went through 4-year training on how to identify different emotional patterns within people's energy fields. And then in the middle of that, I started saying, I wonder if this works on animals too, because I'd always allowed animals in my heart and hadn't allowed a lot of people in my heart. And so then as it turned out, and to me, this was so fascinating, I would ask my friends initially, can I work on your animal and just see what happens? Well, every single time I'd look at their animal and say, I would see an emotional pattern, energetic pattern in their field of unhealed abandonment wound. If I glanced at their person, there was in 100% of the time, their person had the same exact energy. And
Wow.
in that they were both healing together, the abandonment, the betrayal, the invasiveness, the terror, whatever the wound was, they had come together to heal together. And then that just started that kind of started my niche. And I just found that fascinating. It's like, okay, so now they're showing up to help us heal together. We're healing together for those of us who really get emotionally connected to our animals.
Wow.
That's
That
how it
was
started.
very impactful to, see the energy and have the realization about the pet and the owner having some commonality and who would have thought? I mean, this is all very interesting to me.
Yeah.
And you're just opening our eyes to this type of information. I guess we kind of don't look at our animals, and I think I'm going to look at them differently now after, you brought this to my attention. I read the book. So I would say to people that you should definitely get the book, because if you're a pet owner, this may help you understand you and your pet and why maybe you get along or you don't get along and what bad habits they may have. Why are they doing that? I know I babysit my girlfriend's cat, and some days he's pleasant and some days he's not. And I keep wondering why the poor kitty is just not a very happy camper. And I try talking to him. I don't know if he hears what I say. I tell him he should at least be happy when I'm there.
Well, they came together, for a reason. And you can bet that he's mirroring something for her, some part maybe that's repressed. I mean, it's really fascinating. There's a lot of different levels to our love stories with our animals.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a small community, and many of our dogs would chase after the mail truck, which somebody said it was something about the vibration of the 18-wheeler did something. And the dog, and it was a small community, and it was like a gang of dogs would all go and wait for the mail truck.
Wow.
Who can say that? It was like everybody in town knew that all the dogs would go up to the main road and wait for the mail, and they all knew when it was coming. They do have their own clock.
Yeah.
They would all go up there and wait for the mail truck and then chase it.
The evil mail truck. Well, I promise you something within, if you're curious at all, my take on that. I mean, obviously you're picking up on energy, but probably was it the same driver each time?
It was an 18-wheeler, so the cab was way up here.
It doesn't matter energetically. Yeah.
I don't know if it was the same driver or not.
Okay. Because that's for them to be attracted to do that, there's got to be a message for the driver in some way. Either the driver has unhealed invasiveness because they're still having, they're coming at him, right? So there's something about that. And
it's just funny that like there would be a group of like 5 or 6 dogs that would all lived in various parts, would all come together and go up there.
Peer pressure. You want to be one of our gang, then you come take this truck down, right?
Right, yeah. And then the last dog I had, she was just the sweetest thing. And I would identify with a lot of the stories in the book is if I was having a bad day, she wasn't really a lap dog, but she would climb up on my lap and, just sit there. I mean, I have a picture on my refrigerator from when I was a teen. And, we go through that angsty teenage years. And I've got a picture of her just laying on my lap, just like a happy little clam, and it has very fond memories for me. So I keep that there in hopes that if I ever get a dog or when I move on to wherever I will be going in my next life, that hopefully she'll pop up and be my pet again.
Yeah, she probably will.
Yeah.
If your soul's designed it, if it's meant to happen, it'll come together.
I hope so. She was really very smart and very kind, and I would like to see that happen. So the one thing at the end of the book, which I really liked, was the prayer of thanks for animals.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
I really liked it. So I don't know if I put you on the spot and make you read it, because you probably can read it better than I can.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Hold on. Let me get to it. Okay. For providing unwavering support and service to humanity, we give our thanks. For revealing to our hearts the true meaning of unconditional love, we give our thanks. For the times we have been lifted into the darkest of hours by a paw, a nuzzle, or slurp on the face, we give our thanks. For showing us the way to our hearts so we can make a positive difference in the world, we give our thanks. Thank you, Divine Presence, for gifting us with the honor of sharing our planet with animals. For when we look into their eyes, we see you. I'm crying now.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was really so touching, and I thought you could read it much better than I did, and that was beautiful. So
thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
So do you want to talk about your website and any classes or things that you're offering?
I would love to. Yes, thank you for asking that. Go to tammybillups.com. Everything is there, but I have master classes based on the contents in each of my books. The next one I think that's coming up by the time this airs is the one on animal-human soul contracts, and it goes over the 7 different types of soul contracts. Sometimes I have guest people that pop in that were maybe in the book, some of the stories in the book. And of course, you get to meet other like-minded animal lovers. That's a 4-week class, 2 hours a week. And then I have another class on those emotional wounds, how to identify emotional wounds within animals and their person, because they go hand in hand, how to help them heal. And that's a 3-week class. And those are classes that I do offer each year. And then, of course, there's a new one on animal wayshowers, and I'm in the midst of that right now, but I'll be offering it again later in the year. And of course, the info on the books and all of my healing services. I offer mentoring and healing for animals and people. And then I have proprietary service called Tandem Animal Human Tandem Healings, in which I invite the soul of the animal and the person to come together to heal what they came together to heal together. Because then it can be more sustainable and long-lasting results. A lot of times animals will heal, but if their person hasn't healed what they came together to heal as well, then the animal can revert their behavior. But when you do it together is when the magic happens.
Right. So I should probably say it's Tammy Billups, BILLUPS.com. So make sure that people, when they watch this video, can find your website. And then you've written a few books, and are they all with Inner Traditions?
They are, yes. And I have free guided meditations around different emotional wounds too on YouTube and on Insight Timer app. for you to. They're all very healing in nature. That's what I'm wired to do.
All right, and Inner Traditions is a book company. You can just Google Inner Traditions. They're in Vermont, and they have a wide variety of books, and your books are there. So if people are interested, I'm sure they're maybe on your website and Amazon too.
Oh yes, all the major book sites, absolutely.
Okay, well, if there's anything else, I'm gonna say thank you. This has been great. I'm gonna tell people again, get the book so you can understand how animals have such a wonderful impact on us. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Pam. I appreciate being here with you today.
All right, thank you.